Hello and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another video. So today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I have like a list of books that I've read that have been adapted for movies and television. And sometimes I don't like watching films that have been made from books that I've read, especially if I enjoyed the book, because again, we all know as readers that the books are better. And sometimes it can take away from your experience. But then there are those books that, you enjoyed them to the point that you really saw like a film in your mind of the action and what was going on. And you're wondering, how would this look as a film? Does it match what I was thinking? And because even like when I first started the channel, I was even doing the fan casting stuff for books that I wanted to see made into movies and who I thought would do a great job in the role. So there are a few movies that I do want to see what they did with these books that I so enjoyed. And I think that I'm going to be doing that. I don't know that I'm going to be able to finish the list before the end of the year because I have so much content already in the pipeline. But that is something that I'm going to be doing more of on the channel. So it probably will take me into 2025. But for today, both the book and the movie are a little bit dated as far as, they weren't released this year. I don't even think they were released last year. The book itself, I know I read maybe 3 years ago. And the movie was on Netflix. Maybe it just came out last year or at the latest 2022. I don't think it's any older than that. But what I'm talking about today is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Like I said, I read that book and I enjoyed it immensely. And initially, when I heard there was going to be, adapted for a movie, I was excited because that's one of those books that I was like, oh, I wonder what they would do, who they would cast and all that stuff. But I will say when I first saw the trailer for it, when I knew it was going to be on Netflix, I thought it was weird. It looked weird. And I'm thinking now in retrospect, as I start talking about it, it's because of the scenes that they chose to use for the trailer. It looked very strange, and I think that's what put me off of it for so long. But someone was telling me that they had watched it, and I was like, oh, I read that book, and they were like, oh, you should watch it. So I went in and I watched it. So for those of you who are not familiar, the book itself follows a woman who is an agoraphobic. And what that means is she basically has a fear of being outside of her house. She stays in her house all the time. She gets food deliveries, grocery deliveries. People have to put stuff with, this area that's not quite outside. It's she's in a brownstone outside of New York, right? New York City. There's this lobby area where people put stuff and she opens the door and she grabs it, but it's not outside. So she, doesn't have to contend with that. But anyway, we meet this woman, and I'm just drawing a blank right now on her name. So we're just going to keep calling her this woman, like the author does in the title, The Woman in the Window. But we meet this woman at the point of the story where she's already an agoraphobic. So you don't know what happened to her to make her that way until you continue reading. But not only does she suffer from agoraphobia, but she also has a drinking problem. Some mental issues that require her. She's on medication, that she's drinking with wine that she shouldn't be doing. So all of this is already kind of starting to make her, in the book at least, you kind of see that she's going to be an unreliable narrator because she's not even sober half the time, right? And she's having these conversations with her ex-husband, who, she says she's separated from, and he has custody of the daughter, probably because she's an alcoholic, right? And let me just stop right here before we go on to let you guys know that this will be ripe with spoilers, because I'm comparing the book to the movie, so there are things that I will be revealing that happened in both. So if you have not read the book or watched the movie, and it is your intention to do so, you may want to stop and go catch up on another video of mine. Thanks. So anyway, we start to learn, about her background slowly as the book unravels, right? But alluding to the title, the main thing that this woman does day in and day out. Now, first of all, she used to be a psychiatrist. How ironic is that? But the main thing that she does day in and day out is she watches people on the street out of her window. She just kind of peeks out, even though she's afraid to go out there, she's very interested in what's going on out there. So there's new neighbors that have moved directly across from her in the brownstone or the apartment, whatever terminology they use, in that area. But they've moved directly across from her, and, she's able to see right into their homes. I noticed that, it seems like only in places where people actually have money and they have things that probably would be of interest to crooks, the people keep their windows and their curtains open. There are places here in Houston, like really nice areas of town where these people have these huge homes. You drive by there, they have no curtains, or the curtains are wide open. Well, it's the same in this movie. These people are wealthy, their curtains are wide open, and she's just, looking in, seeing what's happening and what's going on inside their house. So she ends up meeting their son. He's like 16 or 17, and remember I said she used to be a psychologist. I think she used to be a child psychologist, so she can tell something's up with him, and his parents, and that they don't get along and all that kind of stuff. So she kind of befriends him. He comes into her house and all this stuff. But, she watches their house, she drinks her wine, she takes her pills, she talks to her ex, and it really would seem like, okay, that's going to make for such a boring story because this woman's not doing much, right? Well, there ends up being a murder across the street, right? At the place where the boy that she's met and the new family that has moved in. So she calls the police. And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. She tells them that she saw the wife get murdered because she actually had met the wife as well. The wife came over, I think it was on Halloween, and she let her in, and they were talking, and they had wine, and were kikiing and all this good stuff. So she saw her get murdered. The police come, and they're like, because she tried to go outside because she was going to go help the woman when she saw the murder happen through the window. Don't know what the hell she thought she was going to do. But she ends up in the book, she ends up, I think, getting clipped by a car or something, because she ends up going to the hospital because she faints. She passes out because, she's afraid to be outside. And now that she's outside, she had a super panic attack. So anyway, once she gets home, or she, at the hospital, the police are talking to her, and they're like, there was no murder, sweetie. We don't know what you thought you saw, but there was no murder. And she, because when they listen back to the 911 call, there's her speech is garbled, and, she's very incoherent sounding because of the pills and the alcohol. But she just swears she knows what she saw. Well, they bring in the man's wife, and they're like, she's still very much alive. So how could you have seen her get killed? Well, here's the thing. That's not the wife that she was introduced to, or that she knows, to be his wife. The woman that came over and was believed to be his wife was the person she saw murdered. But they're saying that wasn't the wife, that, this lady is the wife. She's very much alive. We don't know who this other person you saw or who you thought you were talking to. Maybe it was a figment of your imagination. So she starts to doubt her own sanity. And with that, we get more into why she ended up on alcohol and pills and stuck in her house. And it has to do with, and I'll try not to spoil this. I'm trying to see how I can preface this. It has to do with her ex-husband and her daughter who she's separated from. So that's all I'm gonna say. But an incident involving the two of them led her to her current predicament, right? And in a last ditch effort to like either reclaim her sanity or to just leave the world behind, she clears out all the alcohol, the pills, and she decides that, she's going to try to be better. But it doesn't last very long. Then she decides maybe she should just commit suicide. That plan goes awry because somebody breaks into her house, and she, at that point, everything is revealed. We learn who the woman was. We learn what was going on in the house. I mean, just so many bombshells are dropped at this point, right? So that is the gist of the story, and without me spoiling any more of it, like the main plot twist. But I feel like the story and the TV piece movie was they were pretty good. They were able to tell the story, even though they did take out a few elements. She had a best friend, this woman in the book. She was missing from the movie, but I feel like having her out of the movie actually gave more depth to the notion that she was this kind of lonely, crazy lady who was unreliable, or who saw things or was imagining things, because she really didn't have anybody to speak up for her or to say, no, she's going through it or whatever. She just came across as lonely, as a busybody, as an alcoholic. So it played into everything very well. She also had a tenant living in her basement of her brownstone in the book and in the movie. But in the book, she had a relationship with him. They took that part out in the movie. And again, I think that, that kind of helped to play into the notion of her being this isolated, lonely old woman. Well, not old, but you know what I mean. This lonely woman who didn't have any friends or family. So she just was, looking at everybody else's lives. I think that the reveal for what happened with her husband and daughter in the movie, there was a scene that was a part of actually the trailer, but you don't know what it is if you haven't read the book or if you haven't ever, seen the movie. That is one of the things that they put in the trailer that I thought was weird and kept me from watching it, but it was effective in the movie, in the scene that it was in. So, I wasn't mad at it. I felt like it did, good for the movie. Now, I will say I cannot totally recall, I know how it ended, the book and, and everything, but after that, you had an epilogue or what the character did. I don't know if we got that in the book or if this was just for the movie, because the only thing, it just seems so convenient and so quick. She got over her agoraphobia. She was leaving that particular brownstone and moving on to greener pastures. She was a totally different woman, which kudos, bravo. But I just felt could we get some time lapse here? Was that 8 months later? Was that a year later? Or was it 2 weeks after the incident that she just got over everything? That part I was kind of but it made for good entertainment. So the movie itself, it had a star-studded lineup. Amy Adams was the main character. Gary Oldman was in it. He was the rich asshole neighbor man across the street that she thought had killed his wife. Julianne Moore, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Anthony Mackie, Brian Tyree Henry. So it was star-studded. Everybody did really well in their roles, and it had almost a Hitchcockian feel to it, because you didn't know where things were going. There were moments where it was really silent and tense, and these big rooms and these camera shots. I feel like the cinematography was done really good. So you know, as far as adaptations go, it wasn't the worst. I don't know that what I would have improved on. I think that the liberties that they did take and the things that they eliminated, they weren't really missed, you know, and that's coming from somebody who read the book. And again, it was a while ago that I read the book. I don't know if I would have felt the same had I watched it right after the book, because I remember just really, really enjoying it. But again, like I said, the movie, it was entertaining. Was it the best movie I've ever seen in my life? No. But I feel like they did the book justice. So there's my 2 cents on that. If you have read The Woman in the Window and watched the movie, I'm wondering what you thought about the adaptation. Let me know in the comments. And if you have watched the movie but not read the book, or vice versa, let me know if you're thinking of, you know, either going back reading or going back watching after this review. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure that you like this video, and if you have not done so already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and turn on that post notification bell. And do me one more favor, go ahead and share my content with someone who you think may enjoy it. I appreciate you guys so much. Until next time, bye.